the other day on my desk. I was going to say, listen, we're stuck. We don't know what we should do. But other people, Mel, I'm sure he's been report, I've burned the governor. So, in the case of them, they come to my family, they'll sit with me through the briefing, and then, you know, so from 8 to 10, they can be with me on their phones or whatever. Yeah, that's it. So get snacks and that there, and then they'll come home with you like whenever I finish. Yeah, we'll do that, I reckon. Nah, do you know what? I'm going to do it another time. You know? Yeah. Cool.
No, we're all stood by.
You could make them out without any problem at all. You wouldn't, the detail wouldn't be amazing.
This is not a victory of a party or of any class. It's a victory of the great British nation as a whole. We were the first in this ancient island to draw the sword against tyranny. Every man, woman and child in the country had no thought of quitting the struggle. When shall the reputation and faith of this generation of men and women fail? I say that in the long years to come, not only will the people of this island, but of the world, wherever the bird of freedom chirps in human hearts, look back to what we have done and they will say, do not despair. Do not yield to violence and tyranny. March straight forward and die, if need be, unconquered.
May this torch for peace be a reminder of all those who sacrificed their lives with no thought of quitting the struggle. Let it be a symbol for the future. We thank you and all those that have served.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you and your generation for securing our freedom 80 years ago. May I have your permission to start the parade, Sir Fraser?
Carry on.
Morning, sir. Please may you start the parade.
Thank you, Gaz, Major.
What is that? Top left.
Everyone would use
That's what she said, it's to go right. Oh, look at this. Yes? There. Red parade.
The French guys wanted eat some cheese.
No, that was the Italian. When we went to
Oh, it's very
I didn't get that yesterday, weirdly.
Alright, thank you.
He wasn't even go.
Do you want to go?
mind if I help myself?
Chill out, fam. I was like, wow. Language had become school. Chill out, fam, yeah. They're rough. Or bro. Oh, that's right. Oh. Happy that you think of me, but my eldest, my wife, decided to run back to the road. I was downstairs, my wife got my eldest to say, alright, shut up, bitch. And I think he like teleported the group reaper around the corner. I was like, oh, that's the score, you fucking right. What did you say? This is just laughing. Tom told me as well. Yes. Tom told me. Such and such a no, so they block their knew roughly where you'd be, but
told me off to not be there. I know what they are doing is called, so this is fun. Can't get much better than this, to be honest.
Good afternoon and welcome to you all to a very special edition of Palace Confidential. I'm Jo Elvin, and why is it special? Because we are live outside an actual palace, and of course I'm talking about Buckingham Palace, where we're here to look at the commemorations for VE Day, the 80th anniversary of VE Day. Now, in case you don't know, VE stands for Victory in Europe, and it is the beginning of a week-long commemoration, probably, rather than celebration. And we are going to be talking you through all of the pomp and pageantry that the UK is so well known for. And of course, we are here because VE Day is also very much infused with royal history, and it's an event that the royal family have been involved in from the very beginning. I've got all the experts here. I've got all your favorites. Rebecca English will be here. Richard Eden will be here. We're going to start off now with an in-depth conversation with the man who knows everything there is to know about this occasion. It's author, journalist and historian Robert Hardman. Welcome to you.
Hello, Jo.
How are you?
I'm thoroughly enjoying being here. Where else would you want to be on VE Day plus 80?
Just give us a bit of a glimpse and an insight into the atmosphere that we've had here so far today.
Well, we've had a wonderful morning, proper pageantry, a parade of over 1,000 members of the armed forces, other people's armed forces as well, NATO troops, Ukrainian troops. So very much the serving forces of today marching past that dais behind us there, where we've had the royal family and veterans of the Second World War, and the King taking the salute. And we're just in a sort of interim period while the King and the veterans have gone into the palace behind us, and we're waiting for the Flypast. It's going to come whizzing overhead at around 1:45, and the crowds are going to come sweeping down the Mall. So it's sort of part two on its way.
Right.
But we've had a really one of those great mornings where we're just reminded how lucky we are, really.
I tell you, I just don't know where to begin. There's so many things that have been moving. It's like, as you say, some of the military procession, the fact that we don't often see so many members of the principal royal family members together in the same place. And I was completely, when you're standing here and you're watching King Charles stand up and salute, as long as he did, it's incredible, isn't it?
Well, it was a very moving moment because, of course, for many people, the abiding image of VE Day, Victory in Europe Day, the day the war ended in Europe in 1945, is of the royal family on the balcony behind us and of the King in his Royal Navy uniform. And there you had today the King in his number one Royal Navy uniform, exactly the same uniform, taking the salute of the troops. I think for him that's a very proud moment. All the royal family there, as you say.
Yes.
The last time we've seen them in any numbers, every year we see is for the birthday parade here. But to see them there, and of course they're there with the Prime Minister, with the Leader of the Opposition, with senior cabinet ministers and with all the defence chiefs, but crucially the veterans. I thought it was very touching that in the front row, normally it's just the royal family and the VIPs, front row today, who was on the King's left wasn't the Prime Minister, it was Joy Tew, the Women's Auxiliary Air Force.
Right.
Who's next to the Princess of Wales? Normally it would be someone in a very smart uniform. It was Bernard Morgan, who's 100 years old, who was an RAF codebreaker. So the veterans right at the heart of everything today. I think that was really important. And the veterans right now, they're assembling. We can't see it, but they're at the other side of the palace there in the garden, and they're going to have a lovely tea party.
Well, I want to get back to the veterans in a moment, but what I want to start with is obviously we can't help it. We always feel like that, the ghost of the Queen Elizabeth, who was always so intrinsic to this whole event and the history of World War II. What do you think this event meant to her over the years?
She loved VE Day. I mean, for her, if you read her diaries, I'm lucky enough to see her diaries, a bit of them, the way she describes her memories of VE Day. She said it was one of the most exciting nights of her life.
Wow.
Because she was the end of the war. At any given point during the war, her parents could have been killed at any minute. There were plans to kidnap her and her sister. There were plans, obviously, to invade Britain. So to have come through all that, she was so proud to serve in uniform at the end of the uniform of the ATS, the Auxiliary Territorial Service. And there was a veteran, a delightful veteran there today, who served in the ATS with the Queen. She was here today.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember being here for the 50th. Anniversary. I'm afraid I'm that old, Joe. And the 50th was wonderful. You had huge crowds here, and out on that balcony you had the Queen, Princess Margaret, and of course the Queen Mother.
Yes, indeed.
And all three of whom had very vivid memories, and that was, I think, one of the most moving royal moments I've seen on that balcony.
Well,
so that'll be going through the King's mind today. He's the heir to all that.
And one of the poignancies about today is this is the first major VE Day celebrations we've had where we haven't had a member of the royal family who was living at the time of Victory Day.
No, that's very important. I mean, the late Queen was one of the reasons she was so revered around the world, but she was the last head of state to wear uniform in the Second World War. I mean, I remember her at the 70th anniversary of D-Day, for example, on the beaches in France. All the other world leaders there, they were all, most of them hadn't been born at the time of the war. There she was at the 75th. She stood up and said, on behalf of the wartime generation, thank you. So she was very much of that age, of that generation. And I think her passing, a lot of people wondered, how could we sort of summon up, if you like, that emotion, that poignancy without her. But I think today has shown that we can.
But how do you think the younger members of the royal family will carry on that legacy? Particularly, we're lucky enough to have a lot of veterans with us here today. But as that generation disappears, obviously the younger royals will have to find a new way to connect with the public about this event.
It is a challenge. How do you instill in younger generations the importance of the sacrifice that we are honouring today? It is difficult, but I thought it was very important that today, right in front, I mean, a lot of this has been kept as a sterile area, but pride of place, the best seats in the house, were given over to Boy Scouts, cadets, the younger generation there. So, these things, that there is a conscious effort being made to make sure that the younger generation understand this, and we see this at the Cenotaph now on Remembrance Sunday. There are very, very few veterans of the two world wars there, but it's still 10,000 people march past, huge crowds, because I think people grow up with a lot of these stories. I mean, I was down on the Mall earlier talking to families there, and there were people who, young people, but they were, they'd been raised on the story of how, I don't know, Grandpa was at Dunkirk, or Great Auntie was narrowly avoided a doodlebug. These are sort of parts of family folklore. So I think all that's sort of coming to a head today, and right around the country. I mean, we'll have viewers watching from all over the country, all over the world, who will feel a connection with VE Day, even if they're not here, even if they didn't have anyone serving in the armed forces. They will have that sense that this was the moment that the world changed forever.
Indeed. Now, we've seen a lot of our royal family members today in military regalia. What can you tell us about what those uniforms signify?
Well, all the royal family are very, very proud of their various service connections. So the King, he could have worn, he's the head of the armed forces, he could take his pick, but today he chose, as I say, to wear his Royal Navy No. 1 uniform, which is, was what his grandfather, George VI, was wearing on VE Day. I think everybody understands that. But all the other services are remembered, are recognised. I mean, the Prince of Wales today was wearing his RAF uniform, because of course he served in the RAF. I saw the Princess Royal. She was wearing the First Aid Nursing Yeomanry, who produced all those amazing special agents and very, very distinguished war. She is their Colonel-in-Chief. She was wearing their uniform. So all the forces represented today. The Duke of Edinburgh wearing his Scots Guards uniform. So it is a day when I think all members of the royal family do feel that bond that exists between the family and the armed forces. They are a forces family. I mean, let's not forget that. I mean, the late Queen, she was the the daughter of a Royal Navy officer. She was married to a Royal Navy officer, and two of her sons went into the Royal Navy.
Well, the late Queen also served. What did her role in the war mean to people back in the British public?
It meant a lot. I mean, to begin with in the war, it was an honorary role. So on her 16th birthday, she was made Colonel of the Grenadier Guards by her father. She was terribly proud of that. She always had this lifelong affinity with the Grenadier Guards. But she wanted to serve like everybody else. So towards the end of the war, when she turned 18, she joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service and learned how to drive, learned how to strip down the engine on a 4-ton truck, and was just she was a subaltern. She didn't get any special treatment, and that's why she.
I don't believe that. Is that true?
Well, the one thing she didn't have to do, she didn't have to sleep in a dormitory with the other cadets. But other than that, she went in every day to the workshops in Camberley, and she learned how to take apart a Bedford truck. She can still do it.
I love that. I love that a lot. Now, there's obviously King Charles's. You'll have to forgive us. There is so much.
There's a lot of pollen
flying around in the air today.
I don't think we can really complain about pollen on VE Day. I think that lot had to put up with rather more than pollen.
It's just a reality of sneezing and coughing through our live broadcast. But I wanted to ask you about King Charles. Obviously, his health is never far away from our concerns. He's very busy today. He's very busy all of this week. He's been on his feet a lot already today. How do you think people around him are sort of like trying to manage his work ethic?
Well, I think the only challenge I'll have today is trying to stop him doing too much. I mean, he loves this stuff. He loves veterans. Yes, he was standing for most of that parade, taking the salute. He'll make sure he meets all those veterans in there. He'll be leading the family out onto the balcony. He's got a very busy summer coming up. He's got lots of important events. He's off to Canada fairly shortly to open Parliament there. There's the full cycle of events. I mean, he is absolutely firing on all cylinders, and I think we're going to see that all through the summer.
And we can't wait to see the entire family on the balcony. We'll have that for you. For now, I'm going to be dragging you back in to help us answer a lot more questions soon. But for now, that's thank you so much to you, Robert Hardman. Get out there, get amongst it.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Because we've got other people to speak
later.
to today. Yeah, thank you. So this is so far we are at the VE Day commemorations in London, right outside Buckingham Palace, and now the main event. Your two favourite royal correspondents here from the Daily Mail. We have the royal editor Rebecca English and the Daily Mail's diary editor Richard Eden. Welcome to you both. Isn't this strange?
I feel like saying welcome to my manor, that I'm actually bringing you to the place I spend more time in my own home.
Normally we're outside the green screen. Today it's the actual Buckingham Palace. We're very excited, aren't we?
We are, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Tell me about your highlights so far.
I think, Joe, what today shows is just what Britain and the royal family do best. We really
even on a grey day
pull out the stops on these big occasions, and it's just wonderful to see the royal family, the whole royal family, and it's a proper 3-line whip turnout today, here in the public, and actually it's not about them, it's about highlighting the incredible wartime generation.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Like that even the little ones actually look really engaged and like really interested in it.
I mean, being able to observe the royal family so closely has been really interesting. I
can see the excitement in your eyes, Richard Eden.
It's been very sweet with the children. There was one moment earlier where Prince Louis was sort of inspecting his father's uniform and brushing away the blossom which has been flying around here today. So everyone, they wanted to make sure they looked good, and he was checking on his father, so that's very sweet.
And you have been out amongst it in the crowd, sort of like thronging along the Mall this afternoon, haven't you? So what's the atmosphere like?
For me, it brought back memories of the coronation. It was great to go out and meet the crowds. It's been really good fun. I mean, people have come for a day out. They've come because they want to pay their respects, and it's a day of celebration, but also to see the royal family, and people have got dressed up. I met one lady who had her hair dyed red, white and blue for the occasion.
I wish I'd thought of that.
Very impressive. But it's a real sort of joyful atmosphere.
I love that. And Rebecca, I can't help but asking about, we've seen Camilla and Princess Catherine looking resplendent, not wearing military uniform, but looking amazing in what they were wearing. Have you got any details on that for us?
I do, funnily enough. We've got Queen Camilla in a sapphire blue Fiona Clare London dress, and I think really movingly she's wearing a brooch of the 12th Royal Lancers, which was her late father regiment, and that's something that's hugely important to her. And we've got obviously the Princess of Wales, she's wearing Amelia Wickstead and a Sean Barrett hat, and I think again, although she's not wearing she's wearing the RAF wings brooch, and actually that was because her grandfather served as an RAF fighter pilot in the Second World War.
So everybody in the royal family has a really emotional and personal connection to the military here today, don't they?
Absolutely, and I think that's something that people do recognise. Obviously they're very well aware that they are here because the royal family has such an intrinsic link with the military, and they're all very conscious that every single person in that wartime generation that went out to fight, as well as everyone who's serving in the armed forces ever since, are doing so in the name of the head of state. You know, they are willing to lay down their lives in the name of the sovereign, of the king and the queen of the time. So they're very conscious of that. It's why they have a lot of particular professional associations with these regiments, colonels in chief. But you would be surprised at what goes on behind the scenes as well. And I often hear when I go on these military engagements stories of people saying to me, oh, Camilla sends us a bottle of scotch at Christmas, you know, we get personal letters when we come back from, you know, active duty. And these are a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I think people don't realise.
I love that. I just need to talk about a very serious point at the moment. Prince William's beard looking absolutely really dapper, I think, actually. What do you think, though, is Prince William's evolving role in this family, as we've seen today?
We've seen that today, where he's just not centre, because that's of course the king, but very much important there, and almost a sort of patriarch with his children. Is it just me, or did the women coordinate to have sort of red, white and blue today? Because we've had...
well, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
You know, we've had Catherine in sort of burgundy, we've had Queen Camilla in blue, and it looked to me like Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, was in a sort of white or cream dress.
You need to be doing the fashion commentary, not me, Richard, because you've got a better eye for this.
But
absolutely. Well, you and I got the Dotty memo, so
we did.
Yeah, yeah.
We actually were in the green room. We were both looking at each other with absolute horror. I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't think to message you."
But and the king looking very well.
Yeah, I think he looks well.
Yeah, I mean, it's striking how he has to stand for a long while, taking the salute.
Yeah.
And remember, this is the king who, you know, last year at the D-Day commemorations was keen to be there for the whole thing. And today is just the first day of a very busy week for him. So, yes, it would be grueling, but you can tell that he's enjoying it, really.
Indeed.
Well, sorry, Joe, I was going to add to that. I mean, we've actually seen the king stand for half an hour today to take the salute for veterans, because he believes very strongly that he needs to show them respect. It's not them showing him respect.
Yeah.
And I think when you consider that he's going through weekly cancer treatment at the same time as doing all of this, he's got a full week of engagements coming up. You know, I think it really shows the mark of the man.
And look at this, we're just now starting to see the crowds pour into the space. This is wild for me, because as an Australian, I've only ever really seen this on TV. I've never actually been this close to something this atmospheric. What's it like for you? This is just normal for you.
Yeah,
isn't
well,
it,
we should explain. These are the crowds that have been lining either side of the Mall, and now they're being allowed to work their way up to be here for the Flypast. So it's great to be. I mean, there's some real devotees. There have been people that have been here overnight. They've got here very early.
Well, you were once one of those devotees, weren't you?
It brought back memories of actually being here for the wedding of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson.
With this little periscope. But you had a periscope as a little boy.
How old were you, dare I ask, Richard?
Yeah.
I was very, very small indeed. And I had to have a periscope, but even that was useless, because just like today, the crowds are genuinely sort of about 20 deep.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're a little boy at the back, you don't really get to see much, to be honest.
But what was it like, as you know, jokes aside, then 1986 to now, even like the full complement of the principal royal family is actually a lot smaller than it was even 5 years ago, isn't it? And do you think we're sort of seeing now that the difficulty of having a slimmed down monarchy and what it means for the extra workload for the people there already?
Well, certainly it makes it more of an occasion to have more members. And, you know, we've seen before on the balcony when it was just very much a slimmed down monarchy, it does look a bit thin. So, I mean, personally, what I would love to see, which we're not going to unfortunately, is the whole extended family on that balcony, you know, where they're sort of packing in. I love that because it's that sense of the extended family getting together to celebrate with the country.
I wondered if we might see the York princesses today, but no.
No, we're not. No, it is going to be limited to working members of the royal family and their immediate family. But I still think it's a real treat, and when we've got the full turnout.
Yeah, and you know, we've often discussed that weird word, the so-called optics of royal occasions on this show. But so, what do you think the palace want people to take away from today?
Well, obviously, something we'll probably discuss more on the programme on Thursday.
I'm getting to it.
We have seen quite a lot of royal drama over the last few days, unfortunately, mainly Prince Harry associated. And I know what the palace want today is to really focus on what we're trying to commemorate here in the UK, which is the end of a very damaging war in Europe that saw a lot of loss of lives, and thank the veterans that are still alive, that those that have sadly passed away and laid down their lives or died ever since, and also they want to highlight the wartime generation, that generation who aren't standing here moaning about the plane Tripolum coming down. I mean, I'll be honest, it's
an issue, all right.
I'm a proud Londoner, born and bred, and my family grew up yards from Battersea Flower Station, which was a huge target in the Second World War, and they were bombed out of their house on 3 occasions and lost a lot of possessions. Were very lucky to be alive. I remember my grandmother telling me on one occasion she threw herself over my father's cot to save him, you know, and we forget that the people, you know, the scars of that lived with her throughout the rest of her life. And I think the royal family also want to highlight today the fact that there is an entire generation who lived through that, who lived through rationing, you know, who worked on building up our cities and our nations again following the Second World War. And I think that's what they want to highlight today as well.
And it's interesting because it does lead me to a bit of an elephant in the paddock this afternoon, is that it's, you know, with the bombshell interview that Prince Harry gave the BBC just a couple of days ago, it's a marked contrast, isn't it? It's like, do you think that they will be worried, the royal family, that that's going to overshadow events today?
I think they're certainly hoping it wouldn't, but it has dominated headlines over the past few days.
Yeah.
I mean, look, today, you know, hopefully the viewers can feel some of this atmosphere as it fills up here, and you know, there's excitement about it, but people are here to remember sacrifice. So, you know, the idea of more whinging from across the Atlantic that has not gone down very well at this particular time. It's not amazing timing, is it? It's, you know, to be sort of like to be talking about your personal risk and all that when we're actually we're sort of commemorating what people went through in World War II.
Absolutely, and there is a real contrast, Joe, I have to say, and that's why. Certainly, I've written a story about it actually in the Daily Mail today, saying, look, let's just put that aside for one day. I'm sure that's something that people will continue to speak on for a while to come, but let's just focus on what we're trying to highlight here.
Now, as the royal family take to the balcony this afternoon, those occasions are always a little bit, you know, it's always a moment, isn't it? Do you think that people will be scrutinising that lineup for any kind of like body language tips, or what do you think people will be looking for in that balcony scene?
Probably a sort of sense of resolution, a sense of togetherness, defiance almost, you could say.
Yeah.
You know, after what's come, they certainly will be keen to show that they're together as a family and that they're carrying on as normal, and they won't be, you know, pushed off course by various salvos from Montecito.
Yeah, interesting. Now, I hope the weather holds out, because apparently the King and Queen will be hosting a tea party this afternoon. Is that right?
They are. I have to say, no great British occasion would be complete without a tea party.
With that dark cloud looming as we speak.
Well, I have to say, what a setting at Buckingham Palace. Come rain or shine, this will be happening.
Yeah.
And we have several hundred guests here. We have not only some of the surviving wartime veterans, I think the oldest here is going to be 104 today.
Can you believe that?
And he's given an interview. He said he's never met a member of the royal family before, and he is beyond excited.
How has he never met a member of the royal family before? He must have been to several of these.
Well, he hasn't, and he's very excited about it. And we've got them, we've got their families, and the marble corridor inside there at Buckingham Palace is going to be decorated with bunting made from recycled fabrics from all the royal estates. There'll be tea, there'll be scones. We've got the Queen, King Charles, we've got the Prince and Princess of Wales, not the children at the tea party. That would probably be a bit too much excitement for them.
Yeah.
We've got the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh there, we've got the Princess Royal. And again, it's their way of just the royal family saying thank you to these people in the best way possible.
I just want to talk about the children for a second, because they're just looking so grown up now, aren't they? Especially, I mean, obviously the oldest George, but it's you just watching them grow up is fascinating.
Well, the only time we see the royal children really is at events like these. So obviously they get scrutinised for their behaviour.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got a cough. But I think with Prince Louis, he seemed to be on best behaviour today. I didn't.
Well, so far.
From my viewpoint, I didn't see any sort of antics that we've had in the past. But they've all done very well, and it's a chance to see them grow up. We saw that with Princess Charlotte's birthday and the beautiful photograph that was put out last week.
Oh yes.
Again, overshadowed by a certain interview
in
California.
Well, and it's interesting because you can't help but keep coming back to that, because obviously an event like this, you know, so intrinsic to the military and its history with the royal family, it's royal family members like Prince Harry and, dare I say it, Prince Andrew, who would normally have wanted to have quite a major role in it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they will be very sad not to be taking part, because, you know, to think back when Harry and Meghan quit royal duties and left Britain, the idea was that they would come back for events such as this, family events, national events. And, you know, Harry, with his military service, saw this as integral to who he was. So he will certainly be disappointed not to be here, and the same applies to Prince Andrew.
I think a lot of people watching will be wondering about that, the particularly strange comment from Harry about saying he doesn't know how long his father has left. That seems to be, that's, you know, kind of a particularly weird thing, I think, for a family member to say from the royal family.
I think it's particularly distasteful, actually,
Yeah,
Jo.
yeah.
I mean, I was with the King at Windsor Castle on Thursday night, and he was doing a tree planting with the King and Queen of Sweden. I have never heard so much animated small talk about trees and planting in my life.
What can you tell us?
The King was even mansplaining to his wife, Queen Camilla, about how to water the tree. I could see her eyes going, I do know how to water a tree, darling.
I don't think I do.
He was on really good form, and he kind of, I caught his eye at one point, he kind of waggled his eyebrows and smiled like, isn't it fun we're here again? Then he went inside to Windsor Castle, where there was a big reception for the recipients, quite appropriately today, of the George Cross and the Victoria Cross. And he spent another hour shaking hands, having a drink with people, listening to the stories of these people who'd received our highest awards for bravery in this country. And then I remember walking out and thinking, he looks on really good form, how happy he looks, how animated he is. And then for the next day, for his son to do that to him, I thought was pretty distasteful.
I also think, does it not sort of like, it feels like a bit of a violation of privacy. They've, you know, we've had some detailed reports about the King's health, but they've always drawn a line in the sand about what they're willing and not willing to reveal, and that to me seemed to open up a whole can of worms on that issue.
I have to say, I've had several people contact me to say that Harry should be prosecuted for treason, and they say that because speculating about the death of a monarch used to be regarded as treason.
Really?
Obviously it's not now, because the King has been open about his health battle and everything. But even so, the way he sort of put that in, I don't know how long he has left, you know, it really struck the opposite tone to what we've heard from the palace, which is one of sort of positivity about his treatment. So, and the way he did it as well, it did seem deeply unpleasant, I would say.
Well, I was going to say, the irony, I think, Richard, is him saying he doesn't know how long his father has left to live is not because he's speculating about his health, it's because he's got no idea, because he's so kept out of the loop now, because he does things like that and go on TV and give interviews and talks about very sensitive subjects like that he can't be trusted with that sort of information.
Well, I can imagine that we'll probably be discussing that a lot more on the regular Thursday edition of Palace Confidential.
I don't think there'll be a bet on that. Yeah.
Let's for now, let's talk about, this isn't the only occasion that the Royals will be participating in this week, is it?
No, we've got a lot of events coming up this week. Obviously, we have on Tuesday, we have Queen Camilla going to the Tower of London, where she's going to view the incredible display of ceramic poppies there that created such a stir a few years ago, and they've recreated it this week, and she's going to go and view that. And on Thursday we have a big service of commemoration at Westminster Abbey, which all members of the royal family will be at. I'll be there too. I think our Robert Hardman will be there as well, so we'll have plenty to tell you on in Friday's Daily Mail about that. And so, again, they're just putting all of what we've seen to, the last few days to one side and cracking on with what they need to do this week.
Very good. This must also, when I look around and I think the security at something like this must be crazy. I know that we've all had to wear QR codes around our neck all day, so it's mad, isn't it?
Security has been phenomenal, and viewers wouldn't realise that if it wasn't for the control, these crowds would be much, much bigger. But what happens is it's controlled in terms of people being able to enter. The whole area is boarded off, so that police have some control of that. So these are your crowds who've been here for hours, probably very cold by this point.
I love the dedication, though.
But I hope this comes across really on screen, that there is this kind of gathering excitement.
It really is, and I think we're not that far away now, are we, from seeing the famous balcony scene of the royal family? Isn't that right? And we've got, is it the Red Arrows coming to fly over?
Yeah, we have a full military flypast. They've got some of the historic wartime aircraft taking part in it, as well as the more modern ones, and I can't wait to see the children's reaction on the balcony for that, because do you remember in years gone past we've seen little Louis putting his hand over his ears, looking up at the sky. He's been the
Charlotte ticking him off. Yes,
been the standout star of that. And actually, we saw those pictures birthday of him the other week, and how much more grown up he is. So I suspect we'll see a slightly more grown up performance. But I can't wait to see it.
I love that. But the royal family have always really been at the centre of these commemorations and at the centre of all of Britain's military history, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, what lots of people who are here today have told me, that yes, they're here for commemorations to celebrate VE Day, but also it's the royal family that brings them here. And it did make me wonder how many people would come if we were just having a general VE Day celebration. The royal family are there to symbolise the nation and to bring us together. And it's at moments like this that they demonstrate their purpose, I would say.
Yeah, and what have been your personal highlights of today so far?
Well, I think people are getting very excited.
They're not waving at us, but
I don't know, maybe they are, or maybe they're waving at the military started to come over. I love occasions like this, because I think I love seeing the royal family together. I mean, we've heard a lot in recent years about things being disunited, but this actually shows how united they are when it comes to what's important, which is representing our country at big national commemorations such as this. And just to see the excitement amongst the crowds. To see you in the flesh and you in the flesh here at Buckingham Palace instead of talking about it, that's been a highlight too.
What about you? I bet your pret-a-manger sandwich was a big highlight, wasn't it, Richard?
I think just being here has been fun. It's great being in the studio, as we usually are, but being actually out here and meeting the crowds,
where anything could happen.
What makes it for me?
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? So, when can we expect to see the royal family? Any minute now, or is we still a bit of a while away?
We've got the time, Joe. I can tell you.
What is the time?
20 to 2.
Oh, so we're minutes away from it now.
Wow.
We'll probably be we'll certainly have a fairly good idea when the roar of the crowd deafens what we're trying to say.
There's something like 1,300 members of the armed forces and veterans here today. Have you met any of the veterans before?
I've met them at lots of different events with them. Excuse me, now I'm suffering from those plane things.
Oh, suffering.
I've met various members of the royal family with them at events over the years. And actually there's a lot of them in the gardens there behind us now in Buckingham Palace. They're there with the Prime Minister. They've all been invited in to watch the military fly past.
I'm going to ask you what I asked Robert Hardman earlier. So it's going to be so interesting, isn't it, as that generation sort of passes on, how the younger members of the royal family feel connected to an event like this.
Yes, I mean 80. You know, there are only a few veterans left, obviously, and
31 though, which is a surprise to me. That's a good showing.
And I mean, it felt like that with the D-Day commemorations last year, that this is the last sort of big occasion that it will be celebrated with those. The living after that, it becomes something more historic, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it does mean more still.
Yeah. Oh.
Excuse me. Sorry. It's painful.
Oh.
Oh, here they come. We're seeing now the royal family. We can see Queen Camilla, King Charles, and with the Prince and Princess of Wales coming out behind them. I have never been this close to the famous royal balcony before. It's really, it's quite something. Yeah, it's really something. Taking in the generous love and support of the crowds here. Everybody really excited to see them. Yeah. Do you want a drink of water? It's amazing. The Duchess of Edinburgh and the Duke of Edinburgh. What was that?
That was just an enthusiastic royal watcher.
We love that. You know what, I have to say, I haven't quite seen quite as much wackiness today. Sometimes they do, you know, silly, you get the people all dressed up like your lady in the hair with the red, white and blue, but maybe it's a slightly more somber occasion.
That's what I mean. That's usually for the weddings. The weddings or, you know, baby's birth is a chance to really get dressed up.
Yeah.
This is more commemorative, so striking the right tone is slightly more difficult.
I might have got my voice back now. And I was going to say, last summer when the Buckingham Palace opened... Oh, here we go.
Oh, wow.
How amazing is that? It sends shivers down your spine.
That sound just takes you back to all the... I mean, obviously we weren't alive, but it just takes you back to all those war films, doesn't it? There's nothing quite like that aero sound. So
it's kind of tipping its wings in...
We love
respect
that.
over the palace.
And I think soon we'll hear the national anthem.
Well, I was going to say, if you think our view's great, last summer I got to actually have a look in the sound staterooms and stand in that window looking out over the balcony.
She can always one-up us this, Rebecca, can't she?
It's actually tiny. It's tiny, the balcony.
Oh, I'm going to let you guys go and soak up more of the atmosphere. We're going to welcome Robert Hardman back as he's drowned out by the sounds of more military aircraft there. Robert, welcome back.
Thank you, Joe.
How's it been for you?
Oh, just fabulous. I mean, see the Lancaster, the great warhorse of Bomber Command, one of only two airworthy Lancasters in the world, come over leading the charge.
See, I knew you'd have all the engineering facts there.
No,
for us, yeah.
Please don't. I'm not a great aviation buff, but we all love a Lancaster. Those four Rolls-Royce Merlin engines, just there's no other noise like it.
Seeing the royal family on the balcony, that's just old hat for you, isn't it? Does that just get a bit old?
No, never. And there they are. They're standing. If you look up, flying above them, there's the largest standard in the royal repertoire. Over we get. There we go. That's.
Wow.
I think you'll find that's the Globemaster, the largest aircraft the Royal Air Force has.
That's crazy, isn't it?
But I mean, up there right now, you've got the real experts telling the younger generation. I mean, you've got Prince William in his RAF uniform. He'll recognise all these aircraft. So will the King. So they all will actually. And it's rather nice up there. You've got all the. You've got the what we now call the working royal family. That is the sort of the full unit. On VE Day 80 years ago, you just had the four of them.
And it's so interesting, though. That is the full working royal family. And I know even in our old sort of like logo pictures on Palace Confidential, there's a lot more people used to be on that balcony.
Yes, I mean, you know, on VE Day itself, and there's the modern RAF coming over. There's two
incredible.
Typhoons escorting the Poseidon there. Yes, in the past, I mean, at big events like jubilees or birthday parades, in the 80s or 90s, you might have seen, the full, what you might call the cousinhood. You'd have had all the Gloucesters, all the Kents. No, today, I think the King's very conscious. Let's just keep this to those members of the family who are out there doing official engagements. Yes, there are plenty of other much-loved members of the family. One thinks of, Zara Phillips and and Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. They're much-loved members of the family. But today is a day for those who actually do the official engagements.
Oh, here we go. This is incredible.
There we have two lightnings and flying either side of the rivet joint there.
There's nothing quite like that sound, is there? That's sort of like that whoosh of raw power.
Well, I think what we need to wait for now, because I could be wrong, but I think what we're going to get next is the other great favourite. Yes, it's the obviously the Lancaster leading the way, but I think now we could start to see the Red Arrows, who always bring up the rear with those famous plumes, smoke behind them.
And, I once went to...
And I think we're about to get with them. I think we get the national anthem, and we mustn't talk over that.
That's incredible. Oh. Do you know, I once went to a wedding that was so posh that they had the Red Arrows. It wasn't a royal wedding.
Was it yours?
Pardon?
No, listen, I think we're about to get the national anthem. There it is.
God save the King. And we thank you so much, Robert Hardman. Thank you, Rebecca English, Richard Eden. And thank you to you for watching this very exciting live edition of Palace Confidential. And we'll see you for our regular program on Thursday. Bye for now.